Here at Doug's Home Arcade, showcasing my Williams Lucky 7 pinball machine. This is the game that started it all for me, and I'll go into the story on how this game came to be. So it was around 1980, October or November. My dad had took me and my sister to this shop that sold pinball machines at the time, and there was quite a few pinball machines in there. They actually had a Firepower in there, and that was, I couldn't get off that thing. That was the game that I really wanted, and it's still one of my favorite games of all time. But anyways, he told my sister to play this hot tip pinball machine, which was the very first solid state produced Williams machine, and also this Lucky 7 pinball machine, which was the second produced solid state. And Lucky 7 was also made along with the hot tip, but the Lucky 7 was the very last EM pinball machine that Williams had made. I didn't know about that till actually just a few years ago, so I never seen one until I did run into one a few years back, and I'll probably never see one again. The EMs are pretty hard to find. Even these Lucky 7s in general, they're not too easy to find. I don't come across them too often in the last quite a few years since I've had this one. So anyways, we both chose the Lucky 7, and on Christmas of 1980 I wanted a Atari 2600 Indy 500 cartridge. That's what I really wanted, and my parents had pretty much didn't want to buy that. They kept putting it off because it was quite a bit of money, because it came with the steering controller, so it was a very expensive Atari cartridge at the time. And I got the cartridge for Christmas, and I wanted to go play my Indy 500, which was in another room, was in a living room, and my parents kept saying, no, you can't go in there, you know, you can go in there later and play. So after a while, an hour or two, finally got to play my Indy 500. I go in the room, pull out my Atari, turn around, and in the corner of the room laid this Lucky 7 pinball machine. And I can care less about the Indy 500 at that point, and I was just so jazzed that there was a pinball machine sitting in our family room. And actually, here is that fateful day. That's me. I'm 10 years old, and that's probably the first or second game of me playing that Lucky 7 back in Christmas of 1980. So this is the machine that got me into pinball very heavily. I learned how to play pinball very good off of this machine. So when I was going into the arcades after I owned this machine, I got really good. Being 11, which was the following year, I started going to the arcades heavily, and so being at 11 years old, I was pretty much playing games like Flash and Gorgar and Phoenix and Dolly Parton and Future Spa, Firepower. All those games at the time, I got really good at it. $2 had to last me all day, so I was playing more pinball than video games, because I could win free games on these things. And this is, again, what kind of made me a pretty good pinball player. This machine's pretty much in the condition as it was when we got this game, and the only thing that was changed out was the CPU eventually went out, and it was changed out from another one. It's still a Williams factory CPU, so not a major, no upgrade or anything like that. Everything else on this game is all original. Nothing else has been changed on it, and it's been holding up pretty good. It's been in a home all these years. This was the last game actually that Williams made with the bells, and it actually does have a volume control on it. You can't turn it off, but you can turn down the bells, and it just basically hits the chimes softer, is how that works. So pretty interesting. Interesting game. This game really holds up, and I'm so glad that me and my sister chose this game over the Hot Tip, because Hot Tip, I've owned a Hot Tip after that, and it's just a game that's not very deep. This game is extremely loaded with skill. This is a game, if you just started playing it, you would not know what you're doing, and that's what I like about this machine. And it all has to do with the reels here, which actually there was a game called Klondike, which is an EM version, and had the exact same idea as I guess that's where Lucky 7 got the idea from, because that game had the slot machine on it as well. And how it works is you could get like a cherry, for an example, and you could change the reels by those targets, and then up there as well. So you want to get, like, for example, a cherry will give you your double bonus light and 5,000. Now you don't collect any of these values unless you hit the real value drop targets. Either one will give you a value that you see here. 2 cherries will be double bonus and 10,000. 3 cherries will be 20,000, an extra ball. If you get 3 oranges, that will be strictly 20,000. 3 bells will be 30,000, and all the 7s will give you the special and 30,000. Now, if you can get that, and without changing those reels at the time, that's the hard part of the game. First, it's getting them everything lined up, and you can tell what's next above the line. And if you know the reel, then you can use a lot of strategy because you know what's next. If you don't know the reel, then it's a little more complicated. But if you can get that 30,000 lit and just keep wailing on those drop targets, then you can just get major score on this machine. And if the special's lit, each time you hit that drop target, you'll win a free game. So you can just rack up your games like crazy on this thing. And that's what I like about it. It's never the same game. The reel, it always changes, always a different combination, and again, it's a matter of lining everything up properly and knowing you know what you want to change, and then when you get it, not changing it and just basically just whack away at those drop targets. So it's a game I really still play a lot. It holds up. I will never ever let this machine go. Now, another interesting story, there was 2 models on the Lucky 7s. And this particular one is the harder one to find. The difference was mainly in the reel. So the more common Lucky 7 had kind of what's shown in this plastic here. So instead of the oranges, bells, so forth, it had the 4-leaf clovers, diamonds, horseshoes, and the 7s. So when I play that version of this game, it's a little more complicated for me because I'm not familiar with the reel. So I don't do too hot on it. The other change was in the pop bumper caps. This one has the red caps. The one that was more produced has the yellow caps. And actually, I'm a fan of the red over the yellow. It just looks more awesome to me. So I'm going to go ahead and pause for just a moment, and we'll get a game started so you can see in action. So in the start of the game, it will change the left and the right reel. It'll move it by 1 slot. It will never change the center one. You can change the center by hitting the center target down below here, but the problem is it could spin more than once. So that one's the hardest to work with. You can spin it once up top, but it's hit and miss depending on how hard you hit the center target here. So I got 2 cherries left and right, and then a 7 in the middle. So if I spin that middle one, let's see if I can get that cherry lined up, and it did. Now we got to hit the drop target to collect the extra ball and the 20,000 points, and there it is. Now you can only get 1 extra ball per ball. So now if I keep hitting away at those targets, I'm only just collecting the 20,000. And I'm going to try to do this without messing up the reel, because 20,000 is a pretty good value. And I keep missing. So now I got the 2 cherries and a bell, so that's double bonus and 10,000. So this game is a skill shot. So if you have nothing on the reel, which we got a bell, a cherry, and an orange, so it's nothing. So you get a skill shot. But you can only stop the skill shot if you go through the spinner or through the top left lane. Anything else, it's going to shut that skill shot off. So I got nothing. So we'll focus on the left reel, see if we can get the cherries. Nope, I messed it all up there, so that was a skill shot of 5,000. So now I got to get something on that reel because those drop targets are not going to pop up. There we go, got a cherry. So I got 3 bells, so it's 30,000. So I got to get it in the spinner or the left lane without changing that reel to lock in that value of 30,000. And there it goes. I changed it, so I lost that. 2 oranges, see if I can get that right one changed to get that last orange, and that'll be 20,000. And there it is, without changing the reel. There we go. Definitely a game you just don't get on and bang away. You'll accomplish nothing on it. That's what I like about this game. It still holds up because it's so much skill with playing that reel and lining them up and figuring out your strategy on what you want to get on it and placing the ball where you need it to be. That's the most important part of the whole game. So I got a 7, an orange, and a cherry. If I really want to try to get it in the center, because there's a cherry next, also on the left one too, but I'd rather get the center one and then get the left one. And then I get nothing. 20,000 is just as good. So we'll focus on that for a while. Wanted the center. That would have been the cherry. That's what I really need right now.